Welcome and thank you for sticking around. How about you guys give yourselves a hands of applaud here for just sticking around to the end of the summit, huh? So just in case you don't know, I was one of the guys that Luis called and said we need to do something. And that's why we have this summit, because I had good friends like Dave and everyone else that were already converging on issues, Emilio, Steve. We all wanted to do something. We just didn't know what to do. And we knew we wanted to do some sort of litter prevention, but then we realized that that was just one thing. So we wanted to take it a little bit step further and realize that we were really trying to address the health of our bay. And all of these impacts were affecting that health. So here we are 9 years later, and we're still at it. So I'm really proud of that. I think it's one of those seminal accomplishments in my, let's say, altruistic side. And I'm trying to convert it into actual hard policy every chance I get. If you ever want to see me show up at a CRC committee or show up at a city commission meeting, I'm pretty much going to be there at the beginning, making my feelings heard. So to that point, I'm going to give a prepared statement. Biscayne Bay is at a critical inflection point. We now have policy support for nature-based infrastructure, proven technologies, and community-driven pilot concepts and places to deploy them. The missing link is a clear pathway from concept to permitting, from deployment to scaling. Today is about operationalizing the shoreline as infrastructure, habitat, and community interface. For the first time, we have alignment across policy, proven local technologies ready for deployment, and clearly identified projects that need this across the watershed. What has been missing is the connection point between them. This panel is about to close that gap, bringing together government, innovators, practitioners, and social advocates to move from isolated efforts to coordinated, deployable projects that can scale with support of community, the developers, and elected officials. The health of Biscayne Bay depends on what happens far beyond its shoreline, from our streets to our canals, from our coast to our bay bottom itself. The technologies we are discussing today are not optional. They are essential tools to create a truly symbiotic watershed and resilient coastal edge, where the city and the bay function as one system. The urgency is not just ecological, it is structural. If we get this right with a unity of effort, we don't just protect the bay, we redefine how a coastal city lives with its water. Now, to help frame the panel, please welcome Patricia Matamoros, Brian Harrison, and Barry Miller from Savino and Miller Design Studios, a landscape architecture and urban design architecture and master planning design studio that works to preserve, enhance, and transform environments with purpose to enrich human experience and promote ecological stewardship. Their coastal resilient parks, such as Bayshore Park, Brittany Park, and various projects, showcase how by uplifting the role of nature and fostering social connection with place without composing nature.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Barry Miller. Joining me today, there's Brian and Harrison and Patty Matamoros. These are the diehards here, right? hanging in there till 5 after 5. So thanks for sticking around. As a Miami native and have been working here for God knows how long, right, Aida? We're really excited about this opportunity to speak to you all today and to speak with like-minded people. A lot of the things we've been hearing today, right over the backstop in terms of data and data points and the science of it. But it's great to see that you guys are all there and communing together for a common cause. What's the common cause? Okay, we want to protect and restore Biscayne Bay. That's number one. Okay, so we want to do everything we can to do that by shaping policy and trying to move politicians and the grant funders, et cetera, to fund these projects. How do we do that? We think as landscape architects, we want to make the site enjoyable. We want to make it fun to go to, useful, okay, recreational, et cetera. That builds consensus. When you do that, that's when people start to come together and talk to their politicians of how great this is. Can we do this here? Can we do it in my neighborhood? So I'm taking too long. Patty, I know, is freaking out. So I'll just start right here with, the other one thing I wanted to point out is there's no such thing as a small project or big project. Everything we do in the outdoors is connected to each other. So, the aquifer from aquifer above, to our lakes, our canals, et cetera, out to Biscayne Bay, as we all know, and to the ocean. So it all impacts together, and we all have to coordinate action. So, okay, enough of that. This is South Point Park. I'm not sure if anybody been there. South Point Park. We started this back in 2003 or 4. We worked with Hargreaves and Associates, and it's just become an iconic place to go and be. Resiliency was built into the DNA of this park. Along Government Cut right there, that we call it the Cut Walk, where the granite boulders are. That was raised about 2 feet next to Smith and Walensky's for that first line of defense for storm surge, and the artistic landform above the coastal dune in landform, which was an amazing, amazing kind of intervention that we threw in there. While you're in South Point Park before, you couldn't even see the ocean. So this enables you to see the ocean all the way to Miami. So it's become a real destination place to go. Coastal habitat, coastal dunes, and the first line of defense. Coastal dunes to the right there, and coastal hammocks for bird habitat and wildlife habitat. Next. Patty.
So also interconnected are the tools to address our urban land and the challenges that we face today. So we're used to seeing a baseline that is like this. We have systems like septic tanks that are working at their capacity, but as soon as you introduce a stressor like a king tide, a rain bomb, or a hurricane, then you're left with flooding and leaching into the bay, right? So we can work with incremental solutions that get implemented as funds make themselves available, and as you get buy-in from the community and the right policy, so that they all come together as a system in the end, but also understanding that through a timeline that go several decades in the future. And this macro vision goes from planning, right? But also to the micro decisions as what type of materials are you using, or how you're designing swales to increase permeable surfaces and improve local stormwater. And as Mayor Higgins reminded us this morning, we need more permeable places, and we need more permeable pavers in our cities and in this region. That allows us to recharge the aquifer. You've heard a lot about this. But again, back to the incremental, right? We have this proposal. We're going to play a video for you right now about how it's not just in how you select the material, but also how it can be implemented through time.
Back in, I think in the 2014, 13, raising the streets, asphalt roads, 2 feet, right off the bat. Okay, we've been working on like 3 or 4 projects like this. We're working on West Avenue right now. A pain in the neck in terms of harmonization to the properties adjacent to it. This has been the big problem. So what we're proposing is, there's the water going, I'm not even close to the video. The idea is to put permeable pavers on the thing once every 25 years, every street life. That's how long they last. Okay? Rather than raising it 2 feet every 50 years, once every 25 years is nice and gentle. It doesn't have problems with the harmonization. Okay? It gives time for the adjacent neighbors to rise up, which is they're doing now as the floor levels are coming up. So we're proposing that rather than do that, do it twice, put the permeable pavers down, okay? Then 25 years later, when seas are rising, properties are rising adjacent to it, we reclaim the pavers. These are concrete pavers. just like they do in Greece and Rome and everybody else. They use stone, hard pavers, and they use them for centuries. We put them off to the side, we raise the streets, we use the usable pavers back on the thing, gently raising it 1 to 2 feet. So it's an incremental approach that has a lot less carbon footprint in it, and it also a lot less polluted stormwater first flush water out to Biscayne Bay. I'll preface that by saying, I'm not sure if you all remember, in 2015, the city got busted big time. Henry Briceno, I heard his name earlier, the FIU. Yeah, he took pictures. When they built Sunset Harbor with that first rise, they had the plume going out, from the Herald. Remember the Herald? They showed the plume coming out just in the entire thing, and they were threatening lawsuits. The city had to kind of back off and say, whoa, we got to rethink how we do these things. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so now we're seeing permeable pavers in parking lots and several other projects. Hopefully we'll see them more often around our cities. This is an example for the newly built Bayshore Park, which we'll be showing further along. We also have other projects where we do raise the seawall and create resiliency for the community with a 2-tiered river walk that has floodable spaces and increases permeable spaces with native plants, but that goes even further along and provides public access to a community that was historically underserved in the Alapata neighborhood. So it's not just about how do we protect our land, but also how do we make public, healthy spaces available for the surrounding communities. And this exercise, this project started in 2012. It allowed us to learn a lot of lessons that later informed what came to be the Baywalk Riverwalk guidelines. So,
taking the lessons that we learned from this, we came up with a toolkit. We were approached by the City of Miami and the Downtown Development Authority to develop unifying guidelines, which are a flexible and adaptable set of tools, which involve living shorelines, permeable pavers, walking area, raised seawalks, access to the water, all in different combinations depending on the specific limitations, constraints, and opportunities of a site. Oh, thank you. All these things come together in an example using native materials to create a beautiful riverwalk or baywalk with unified lighting, paving, and other design elements, which was the goal, because as these sections of baywalk have been built, and I've worked on them personally, they only had a county loose set of code of what needed to be applied within this 25-foot sidewalk, and there's a discontinuity even from property to property. So these unifying design elements are now a toolkit that anyone who is developing along the waterfront can use to have a continuous looking baywalk within the city. And coming together now is a video showing all these elements at the same time, just to understand some possibilities of what this could look like.
No sound.
There's no sound.
yeah, and also how these new technologies that we have now available and that we'll hear more coming up can be implemented along this public space to also create more resiliency.
It's important to be able to step down to the water, unlike the original Back Bay, and it was talked about originally, that study where it would isolate you from the water with a big wall. The water is our lifeblood, it is our home, and we want to be able to access it. It brings so much to our life and experience here in Miami. Adding to that, living shorelines, improving the ecology, creating cooler, shaded walking spaces along the waterfront in an otherwise hot urban environment, and be able to increase the native ecology.
And again, public access to our waterfronts.
Other examples of that we have done and we're currently working on, this is the Barnacle in Coconut Grove, subject to flooding, surge, and sea level rise. And the proposed solutions here are to do on-site remediation as opposed to moving out into the bay, absorbing seawater on site, having raised and elevated portions within the site, and creating a living seawall, or sorry, a living shoreline. Another example close to Albert's heart is the Coconut Grove Micro Park, which will eventually happen, I hear. And it's creating an elevated berm in the middle in order to prevent seawater intrusion and stormwater from running into the city during storm events, or running into this neighborhood during storm events. Other examples of things that we're working on, the Palm Beach Spoil Island, which is done to create habitat, and nesting habitat for the oyster catcher. And one that is still in the works now is Monument Island, where we're looking at doing a living shoreline here as well in order to help prevent erosion that's happening on two sides of the island.
We were talking about policy before, and not just the coastline or the shorelines. We're talking about buildings and developers, as we heard earlier. There's no reason in this wet, rainy environment that we have in South Florida that we don't find a way to incentivize green roofs, real green roofs. We've worked on a million amenity decks, with pools and whatnot. But this in 2012 was a platinum building. I think it was the second platinum building in Florida, office building at least. And this guy put his money where his mouth was. He did solar panels, he did a cistern, full cistern. He captured all water, recycling all water, all gray water, HVAC water, all the things we hear about and talk about, he did it. And he put it there, and we just put like a native habitat on it, just mostly muley and sables. They're almost invincible. And it's still there today, and it's working great. The sad thing is, it's the last platinum building and the last real green roof we've worked on since then. No one wants to do it, okay? They want to put in this and that, and we keep on promoting it and trying it. And that's why we're talking about incentives and finding ways to give something to the developer so he, has some kind of ways to monetize it. This goes on to, Patty, let me see this. Okay, I'm not going to even try. Okay, this is the Bayshore Park, the dash line there. What's in the existing Miami Beach neighborhood, about 28th Street. Okay, whoa, it's going way. Can you stop it? Way too fast.
Water flows.
Oh no, huh?
Yeah, that water flows.
It goes fast. So as I mentioned before, Henry Brasine and talking about this plume out to the city, got mud in their face. And when we got this project, we said, there's going to be street raising in this neighborhood. We know that. Okay, why don't we, rather than sending dirty water out to Biscayne Bay, where the city got busted for, why don't we hold water somewhere? There's a park, a 20-acre park, a former par 3 golf course that we repurposed into basically a sponge park. This is back in 2015 or so. Not only that, we combined it. We reached out and we created a watershed, about 85-acre watershed in the neighborhood, way outside. You can see there's the dirty water going to the bay and the canals and whatnot. And then we create this watershed in light blue. We're sending all that water from that watershed into the lake with the street raising program. So it combines two big infrastructural projects in one. This is a cross section here. We dug the lake. We put the spoils into these large landforms. Really create a really dynamic landscape. And there's the water coming from the city into the up to the levee. It's 63 acre feet that this thing can hold. That's a lot of water. That's not going into the bay, first flush especially. So the first flush stays here. Anything extra after that, and the crazy storm, I think it's a 1 year, 25 year, 1 day, 25. I can't remember the exact, but it's been amazingly successful and just a real go-to place. This is a video. I'm just going to close by saying, I hope we can continue the work to do this with you all, and it's a privilege that we can be able to do these kinds of projects, and it just takes a long time and activism. This is Adriana, my partner, Savino. We're working on this for like 30 years, essentially, as activists first, to hold the land, and then the last 10 years I'm building this thing. So it's been a great thing. Thank you guys for.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're going to go up on stage? Keep your mic.